Hey, I'm Justin Whang. I'm a YouTuber who covers a lot of kinds of things, mostly tales from the internet, although I do gaming mysteries and horror movies as well. Tales from the Internet, it's a series where I go into a lot of older, weird, gross online stories, sometimes mystery, sometimes unsolved ones, sometimes solved ones. With gaming mysteries, I kind of go into like some old unsolved video game mysteries as well, and horror movies, I do a series where I kind of go into some of my favorite horror movies of all time, sometimes focusing on the kills, sometimes just, looking into the whole thing and the story behind it. The reason why I tend to focus more on older internet stuff as opposed to more current trending things is that, first off, that's just mostly what I knew. When I was growing up, I spent most of my time online, so I was just sitting there absorbing all these things. And then you think about it 10, 20 years later, and you want to know what happened to it, if there are any things I missed out on, or where these people are now. A lot of the meme sources I would encounter back in the day, it would be people sending you shit directly, because like I said before, everything is a lot less centralized, so you just get bits and pieces, emails, websites like Albino Black Sheep or other things. Actually, two old ones have come back to me recently. We Am Space People. I don't know if you remember that one. It's the song's like da 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 da. It's got this weird voice.
They come from space, so they don't come from here. These are the space people.
It's like a Down syndrome guy flying around in there. It's a bunch of him, and there's a fat guy with a mullet and a guitar, and then they just have these images bouncing around the screen while this ridiculous but super catchy song plays. A very early primitive Flash animation. The first Tales from the Internet episode that really did well was the one about Taylor Swift using 4chan. And that one, it already had done better than the rest of the series at that point, but then there were a couple of elements that came together that kind of really helped it grow the series. And it was that I remember at one point, Anthony, maybe it might have been within a few hours of me releasing it, Anthony Fantano shared it, and who's the perfect audience, who has the perfect audience to look at something that's 4chan and music related. And then that same week, it just so happened that Taylor Swift released a song out of nowhere. So then all of a sudden I have a video that's popping up on searches for Taylor Swift while people are looking for Taylor Swift more than usual. So it just starts feeding that out to everybody. When it comes specifically to the channel, originally I had envisioned Tales from the Internet being a reaction video series. And you can see that in the early episodes. It's the jar, the parts 1 and 2, where it's one of them, I'm literally just the guy sent me the video of him moving one jar to the other. So it's just basically me watching it fresh and seeing it. You got Wild Steve and Alex Chu. These are all more on the reaction side. But then it became more in-depth and mystery-oriented. The topics I picked started to merit it. Because then it's you want to do a video about Max Headroom, say, that. You can't sit there, I guess you could sit there and watch the original hack and say what you think of it. But there's so much more to that story that it kind of, if you're going to do a video about it, you got to get into what's going on here. And then as I did more and more videos in the series, they all kind of just merited that kind of approach as opposed to the reaction approach. I feel my favorite one that I've done so far, I think, is the Messy Tales video. The first one. If you're not familiar with Messy Tales, it's a furry from Twitter who was really into eating. With that video, it had my favorite balance of little gags in the video to make it more make it a more entertaining video, and then actually telling the story of this guy. It's sometimes it's hard to find that balance, but I feel I nailed it with that one. Oh, that reminds me. One of the big videos that I want to do, I've been knocking this around for probably 3 years at this point, but every time I look in it, I just got nothing. And it's identifying the guys in Lemon Party. Every time I get started on my Lemon Party script, I'm just there's so little to this here that it's kind of it's basically the most mysterious meme or the most mysterious shock site at the very least. Big discoveries. I mean, a few of them there were a few that definitely got resolved. The one about the book about the boy who turns to a gas pump. That one got solved. Actually, after I did that, a bunch of people very quickly recognized it. And although it seems like to find an actual physical copy of that book, every library copy pretty much seems to have been destroyed for missing pages. But at the very least, it's been identified. The guitarist mystery got solved, although that was like, that was the kind of thing where the community already existed for that search, and I just kind of signal boosted it, and then it was kind of solved within that community that already existed to some extent. That song from the King of the Hill episode that I was looking for, actually it was the band that was in it wound up like finding it themselves. And like wound up like releasing their EP. I still gotta like follow up on that in a video because I've spoken about it on Twitter, like TikTok and Instagram, but I never like put that in like an actual YouTube video yet. But that one's been solved. You see, like here, like the past week, everyone's been on like the orb pondering, and the f***ing bus meme. Like that's been the whole f***ing week. But it like moves so f***ing fast that it's like a day, like first day, like everyone is making like the best iterations of that shit. Second day, everyone's making like the best like meta iterations of it. By the time this video comes out, you're all gonna hate that meme. Stuff that I'm currently working on. One thing that I don't know if I'm gonna finish this anytime soon, the Hal Turner versus 4chan, that little story arc. That would be a fun one to cover on the channel. On that same token, one that I wanted to do is the 4chan versus Tom Green thing. Something that's always bothered me when I try to work on that story. There's a very specific clip. It was the first time I had ever seen someone pronounce meme out loud. They're trying to get Tom Green to say do a barrel roll, and he's like, oh, they're trying to get me to do internet memes. And like, I know that clip was around, but it's just nowhere anymore. It's probably gone forever. When it comes to preserving any piece of internet lore online, like the Internet Archive is the most important thing. Like pretty much anytime I found something that kind of slipped under everybody's radar, it would be something that was found in like an older version of a website on the Internet Archive. Like, it's very important to preserve the Internet Archive. Thanks for having me. Follow me on YouTube, Justin Whang, Tales from the Internet, and I'm on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and all that bullshit.